from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up today on AgDay, the battle to keep the bog.
So it costs $32 a barrel, which is 100 pounds, to grow cranberries successfully. And right now we're getting paid $22, which is the same amount of money my grandparents got paid in the 50s to grow cranberries.
Why some farmers are turning to the sun for support. Why this set off warning bells for customs officials in Australia. As attitudes shift in the farming community about the future.
Farmer sentiment improved in October compared to September.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado and the all-new Silverado HD, the strongest, most advanced family of Silverados ever.
Good morning, I'm Betsy Gibbon. Clinton is on assignment. A new ag economy barometer is showing a big upswing. The survey of farmer sentiment conducted by Purdue University and the CME Group is up 15 points in October to a reading of 136. That pushes the barometer back to the same level it was in October of last year. Researchers say the gain is driven by an improvement of both current and future economic conditions in agriculture. Trade still very top of mind for many farmers.
96% of the farmers in our October survey said they think the U.S., Mexico, Canada trade agreement is either important or very important to the U.S. ag economy. But only 55% of them think it's likely that the trade agreement will be approved soon by the U.S. Congress.
When asked about the likelihood that the trade dispute with China would be resolved soon, farmers were less pessimistic in October than in September, with 75% saying they think the trade war will be resolved in a way that's beneficial to U.S. ag. And work continues to get that Phase 1 trade deal with China. Reuters reporting Beijing is pushing to get the U.S. to remove tariffs put in place in September as part of the deal. The Financial Times saying Washington would probably expect something in return for cutting some tariffs, including more details on what China would purchase when it comes to American ag. The deal was previously expected to stop the U.S. from imposing new tariffs on China on December 15th, as previously announced. U.S. officials have said the deal could be signed this month, but the location of where that would happen is still unknown. And many farmers continue to support President Trump and his policies. A new Farm Journal Pulse poll shows growing support for the president. More than 1,000 people were asked, do you approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling his job as president? 78% now say they either strongly approve or somewhat approve. That's up 2% from last month and up 7% from August. Finally, we appear to be halfway through harvesting corn. Take a look at these new crop progress numbers from USDA. 52% of the corn crop is now harvested. Usually we're at 75%. Soybeans are now 75% harvest. The 5-year average is 87%. And winter wheat planting is wrapping up. We stand at 89% planted. That's slightly ahead of the 5-year average.
The I-80 Harvest Tour is brought to you by the Enlist Weed Control System. More weed control, less drift and volatility, maximum yield potential.
Ohio has been hit hard this year between flooding and too much rain, to the point where Ohio's Farm Service Agency has declared every single county in the state a disaster area. I got to see the slow-moving harvest firsthand. As I found out in this week's I-80 Harvest Tour, the calendar made all the difference. The harvest progress in Northwest Ohio is not hard to explain.
Never had a year like that ever in my life.
Perhaps it's even easier to see.
We only had 9 days from April to June that we planted, that we worked in the field.
For John Myers and his 2 sons, the calendar date makes a 30 bushel per acre difference between early planted soybeans compared to replant in July.
Our first beans really yielded well. I mean, they were really good. And our late beans are good for when they were planted. I mean, you can't expect 60 bushel beans planting on the 1st of July.
While they say the growing season went better, numerous fields in Swanton are marshy, taking a lot of punishment from fall rain.
It's been tough on them. But that's what's been holding us up on harvest is these green beans. They don't want to ripen.
Most farmers didn't risk planting late corn due to the soggy spring.
We can count all of the cornfields on just 2 hands that are in probably a 5-mile radius, which is unreal.
The lack of corn is one reason why corn basis is positive at the local elevator.
Right now we're 23 over the December, which is very unusual for a harvest basis. Typically we'd be at 30 cents under this time of year.
Roop says he has not experienced a corn basis like this during harvest in his area.
Narrowest I can remember is it'll be like 20 under, but so this is way above anything we've ever experienced ever since I've been here.
One market analyst says farmers are also hanging on to their grain, waiting for the price to move higher.
Grain is not going to market right now. It is staying in the field or going to the bin. So these end users are really kind of bidding up a little bit around the country.
He says that's the same for end users and ethanol plants.
And we've heard some plants have maybe 15, 20, 25 days worth of coverage.
There's been water in here so many times, but there's still soybeans, and you can't hardly believe it.
While it's hard to fathom the progress made during a disastrous weather year in Ohio, for Myers, there's comfort to know harvest will eventually get done. The Myers say when it comes to corn, the yield seems to be good with the little they've harvested, but they say the moisture content is high. There can be lots of waiting still this time of year for producers, waiting for trucks to come to load, waiting in line to unload trucks, waiting for the weather to clear, but some folks find fun even in those moments, as meteorologist Kimberly Newman shows us in today's Crop Comments.
Thanks, Betsy. We've had some wild weather in farm country lately. Dave of Hunt Farm in Blandonsville, Illinois, in the northwest part of the state, is sharing this picture with us on Twitter. Dave saying that building this snowman was something to do while the truck was getting loaded. And there's a lot of loading yet to do. Only 58% of the corn is harvested right now in Illinois. Meanwhile, if you take a look here at the snowfall estimates over the next couple of days, we are talking about major accumulations, especially in the northern Great Lakes. Look at northern Michigan, especially near the UP, and then crossing over Lake Erie into northern New York and, of course, the Northeast. Lots of snow coming your way, and I'll have more on your full forecast coming up in just a bit. Now, here are some hometown temps.
Introducing Farm Journal TV, on demand 24/7. AgDay, Machinery Pete TV. U.S. Farm Report on your phone and tablet. Download the Farm Journal TV mobile app today.
Popeye's popular chicken sandwich is back, but apparently it's causing some people's tempers to flare out of control. Police say a man stabbed another customer to death outside of a Maryland Popeye's restaurant. Investigators say the two men were waiting in line at an Oxon Hill Popeye's Monday night when one of the men accused the other of cutting in front of him in line specifically for ordering chicken sandwiches. The fight then spilled outside where one of the men stabbed the other. The 28-year-old victim died at the hospital. Police are still looking for the suspect and are calling on him to surrender. Popeyes resumed selling its chicken sandwich over the weekend. It sold out in less than a month when it was released in August. Still ahead, what Australian authorities recently uncovered while trying to prevent the spread of ASF into the country. And later, why cranberry growers are looking into the sun as another much-needed revenue stream. First, it was the company's CEO. Now McDonald's top human resources executive is leaving. It comes after the company parted ways with CEO Steve Easterbrook over a consensual relationship with an employee. The Wall Street Journal reports Chief People Officer David Fairhurst left the company on Monday. No reason was given, but McDonald's says it was not related to Easterbrook being fired. McDonald's has announced its board of directors has named Chris Kempczynski as its new president and chief executive officer. The two-day rally for soybeans on China trade optimism came to an end on Tuesday. Let's see if Wednesday will look any better in this update from the CME.
Let's take a look at lean hogs. That's the one that really is kind of waving the flag today. We're higher in the day, sharply higher in the day, limit up at times. And that's the one that looks a little bit more interesting than everybody else right now. Firstly, let's talk about this pennant formation. I've talked about it before. The technicians kind of are running the show at the moment. But the big picture view is this, we've got this pennant formation kind of telling us that it's winding up to go out, break out someplace, either lower or higher. Lower would be a break through 65, higher would be a break above 69. So those are your resistance or support and resistance levels. Well, guess what? We're about 67.5 right now. So we're right in the middle. So that's not telling us anything in the short term, but I'll tell you that the way these things trade and this pennant formation is telling us that we'll probably see something fairly soon. And we've got a USA report on Friday. Maybe that could be the impetus that gets us to break out one side or the other.
Lean hogs seeing some gains on Tuesday, but there are pressures on the market. Clinton has more with John Payne in today's analysis.
John Payne, author of the Swine Times, joining us now at the Agribusiness Desk. John, let's talk about lean hog market and your read on what's happening. Of course, we're all watching to see what China's going to buy.
It's been a difficult run. And I mean, you have two stories really that are coinciding at once. Okay, The first one is the ASF story. Obviously, that is a huge issue globally. I get more attracted buyers and people who want to talk to me about this stuff just based off of that and what's going on over in Asia. The second thing is the Chinese trade deal and who's going to step in. China's the biggest producer of pork. They're the biggest end user of pork. They also are the biggest grower of pork. And as we know, their herd is down. So you don't want to be caught too short on that story either. But when you look at the U.S. supply story, it dwarfs where we were in 2016. We're seeing continued increase in expansion. And I think from somebody who has to manage risk, the risk is there. We're seeing feeder pig prices up in northwest Iowa and the Dakotas bare bones, which is just telling us that there's no place to put these things. We've expanded so much now, and we're pushing prices with summer prices essentially at the highs from where they were a year ago already, that you got to be really careful. We're just continue to see that front month spill off into the lows, and the deferred contracts keep the premium. So it's a tough trade, especially if you want to own it.
Well, and I think it's interesting, as far as you look at slaughter numbers, and we're almost to 500,000 a day, which I don't know if we've ever been there before, right?
No, and 2.5 million a week, 2.7 million a week, that is bringing on a lot of supply, and somebody has to buy that, and the U.S. consumer is not. We're seeing massive exports, and yet the cold storage numbers are down 1% year over year. So, I understand the attitude by the end user or by the speculator. They want to own it. Everybody wants to be in on the party, and I'm with that, but we've been just telling folks, you got to pump the brakes here. We're already $20 above where we were a year ago. The carryout really isn't that much different, and yes, exports are high, but supplies are up. So from 2017 to now, we're up almost 4 million metric tons, and exports aren't picking up that. So we look for bear spreads to be the way to play it. We think selling off the April versus summer contracts is a good way to be short. But again, who wants to be short the day that China comes in and says, hey, this trade deal's signed? That's where this is a nightmare scenario for all of us who try to trade it.
All right, well, so much to watch in this. Appreciate it, John. Thank you. We'll be back with more Ag Day coming up in just a minute.
To find John's newsletter, This Week in Grain and Oilseeds, head over to www.thisweekingrain.com.
Hey y'all, Justin Moore here. Get ready to kick up some dust with the Roxor Dirt Roads and a Country Show sweepstakes. Enter now for a chance to win a customized off-road Roxor and 2 VIP tickets to one of my upcoming concerts. Visit roxoroffroad.com/Justin Moore.
Welcome back to Ag Day with meteorologist Kimberly Newman. Kimberly, we've been talking about harvest and how it's lagging behind, but you may have some news about a deep freeze coming early next week, so farmers might need to hurry up if they can.
That's right. We will have some nice weather between now and then, so it's really about getting that process done. While snow is the big story heading through the end of this week and into the beginning of the weekend for parts of the Northeast, that's not the story yet for the Great Lakes region, and certainly not farther out to the west, where some incredibly warm air will be flooding for the next couple of days. Watch closely now. This deepening trough comes right in and sinks farther south than anything has so far this season as we head through the beginning of next week. As this is happening, we've got a low pressure system and a resulting cold front that is all going to really drive this forward and bring snowfall potential to many areas that simply haven't seen it yet this season. We do have some rain shower chances. Those will be heading through the northern plain states and parts of Texas. And then, of course, this low is going to drive forward slowly but surely as a high pressure system behind it drags in that cooler Canadian air. This is going to bring some significant rainfall as it heads south of the Great Lakes down towards parts of the southeast and eventually pushes out towards the coast. All of that being pushed forward by this clearing pattern from the high pressure system, but much cooler air on the back end of things. So how much rain will you see? We're looking first at the winds out there. The strongest winds storms farther north, along with some potential blizzard conditions for the Northeast. Meanwhile, winds die down a little bit here as we head through Wednesday evening, and they pick up again as we get into Wednesday overnight and into your Thursday morning. Guess where the winds are strongest? Right along that cold front. While we're talking snow farther north, we could potentially be seeing some stormy weather farther south, all of which is tied to that exact same band. Meanwhile, we move forward, finally finishing out on Thursday evening with stormy, very gusty weather in parts of Texas moving towards Mexico, and of course more of those winds farther off to the east. The rain shower chances will follow that line as well. You'll see everything building up right there in the midsection of the nation as we move forward. Meanwhile, temperatures are a little bit cooler as a result of that sinking low pressure system. That's a look at what's happening across the country. Now let's take a look at what's happening in your neck of the woods. Bakersfield, California, sunny and calm with a high of 80. We've got Wichita, Kansas, an afternoon rain and a little bit of a breeze. Meanwhile, we're looking at Montgomery, Alabama, clear skies, a cool breeze, and a high of 76.
Well, coming up, a new bill that could help livestock haulers and the fight against the spread of ASF and this strange-looking find in Australia next.
What do you call someone who does dozens of jobs? A farmer. At Pioneer, we're proud to work with generations of American farmers in the most complex and rewarding industry on earth. So from your friends at Pioneer, thank you, farmers.
Some lawmakers are introducing a bill to provide more flexibility for drivers as they haul livestock on the road. The Responsible and Efficient Agriculture Destination Act, known as the TREAD Act, is legislation designed to make it possible for drivers to haul live animals and perishable goods to finish their routes if they are within 150 air miles of their destination.
It's challenging when some of the rules that we have on right now stop just short of where they need to be. When you're hauling livestock, that's different than, non-perishable goods.
The bill was introduced last week. A 60-year-old Vietnamese tourist carrying mooncakes full of pork has been deported by Australian officials. That's after failing to declare he was carrying food into the Sydney International Airport. Take a look. The Department of Agriculture sending us pictures of the pork-filled mooncakes confiscated at the airport from the traveler. The man was refused entry after laws were amended to shorten or cancel a visitor visa for biosecurity reasons in an effort to avoid African swine fever from entering the country.
Their feral pig population is extremely high in Australia. And if ASF were to get into their wild pig population, which is 10 times the size of their domesticated pig population, it would just be so hard for them to get out. So
last month, Australia refused entry to a 45-year-old Vietnamese woman violating the law by attempting at entering the country with more than 4.5 kilograms of pork. Still ahead, a Thanksgiving staple could help make power. What this cranberry bog and solar power could one day have in common next.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry. Join Andrew McRae for Farming the Countryside, a farmer-focused podcast that is all about production agriculture. Farming the Countryside is available wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and is brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, the world's largest provider of crop inputs and services.
The yearly harvest is underway for cranberries. Those sour-tasting red fruits have become a Thanksgiving staple. Cranberries are a wetland fruit that thrive under unique conditions, including acid peat soil. But those factors also prevent farmers from converting bogs into housing lots to generate extra income or grow other fruits or vegetables on the wetlands. One producer says it costs him more to grow them than what he's getting paid. So now many are looking to the sun for relief. They want to build solar panels above their bogs in such a way that they could continue farming the fruit.
If solar panels do end up going up on the bog, we'll be paid so much an acre to run the bog for the solar panel company, and that's money that you can actually count on, that's real, that you know that you're going to get that money every single month, whereas when you harvest the cranberries and bring them in, you really never know what you're going to get paid for them until about a year later. So that'll help plan so we can purchase things, purchase like the fertilizers and things we need to purchase, and you'll know that you have that income coming in. It's a big help.
The University of Massachusetts researchers have erected large wooden structures meant to mimic the shading of a solar panel array on one of the active bogs. On a recent visit, countless berries could be seen growing under the structures, but researchers said they'll need to assess their quality and yield when they're harvested. Well, that's all the time we have this morning. We're glad you tuned in. For all of us here at AgDay, I'm Betsy Gibbon. Have a great day.